$13 an hour, and it's frustrating. And these are some people that these are every day. I call if I had an unsung hero award, I'll give one to every one of them. If I could literally walk into every classroom and see these teachers, I think this is what you know what, you deserve everything. I think you deserve the best. I think crossing guards are one of those folks. And I don't know if we even earmarked money. I don't know if we even, in this budget, are we preparing for those, what's the preparation for those funds? Like, how does that look? I know we're not earmarking it yet for the funds that are supposed to come in from the state. And I know it's not added in the budget. I know we're working on what we have now, and I know we can't speak about, the money that's coming in, but are we preparing, could we earmark money for funds? I don't know. Is that something that I haven't heard about? It's a question. I don't know. Someone asked me that question, and it was a pretty good question because I didn't know the answer. So now I'm asking the question out to everybody. So what's that?
15 million, I think.
Yeah, 15.5.
Kevin, you want to speak to the number we used within the budget that
Yes.
we're identifying from the state?
We used the governor's number, which is the $15 million number. It was like 15.1. So that's what this budget is based upon. As always, we don't know what the final budget's going to be, and it's a function of once that's done, if there is additional funds, we'd have to sit down to see how that affects the net school spending amount and what additional funds could come here, if any. So that would have to be like the CFO, myself, and the mayor's office and the superintendent having that discussion. And then should there ever be any, like if you recall last year, we did get some additional funds because of the economic disadvantaged children. So we came back to the committee with a list of items that we would use those funds for. So that would be the next thing. The city council, I believe, was in September. They actually reallocated those funds to the school department, and then we came to you with a list of this is what we're going to, then you would vote and we'd amend our budget to that amount. So that's the process. Just on crossing guards, they don't qualify for net school spending, just as an FYI. I'm not saying they are very important, they're out there, but if we do, in there, you now all help, the police department pays for those as well. So even if we were to put those in as our expense, they wouldn't, when I do my state report, they don't count. So that would have to be like subtracted off our budget line item like transportation does right now.
Okay. So going based on, so we could expand so it'd be expanding a partnership with the police departments, but just kind of, is that something what you said? So we had to, obviously, we had the conversation with the city side, with us, if we want that to.
So those funds would come completely out of the city side. They would not come out of the school side because they're not eligible
Right.
for net school spending. So even though there might be extra money that we're getting in this budget for schools, that money cannot be utilized for, it comes out of the city side. So those costs bump up the cost of the police department. And the reality in terms of what's going on with the police department, substantially understaffed. We're trying to get, on the city side, we're really trying to make efforts. Over the last couple of budgets we have, there's no new police officers in this current budget as proposed. It was approved by the council on Tuesday night. The last 2 years we have tried to add police in, but there's still a substantial understaffing on the police side. So the focus is on full-time police officers, not saying that the crossing guards aren't important, but there's other issues that on the city side that we're really trying to face to get the public safety issues resolved. Member Ford.
I wasn't really done yet. I was asking, so as the SRO, are they considered net school spending? Is that, no? You said no?
I don't believe so.
The school resource officer?
School resource officer.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check the report because there's certain items that go into the report. I mean, the city still gives us in-kind contributions, but some of those are not net school compliant, which means it goes in, but when they do the formula and the math and it's a computer program, it takes them back out. As like, I put in transportation, so you see my transportation budget page. Since there used to be a reimbursement for transportation years and years ago, that's not counted towards net school spending. So if you recall, I'm not sure, Brian, if you have in the past, I think I've talked about net school spending that basically take our budget, minus out the transportation. That's the actual number that we use to go towards net school spending. I would have to double check on the SROs.
Yeah, we can verify that. I think they may be, Kevin, but we'll figure that out. But
Is it under security though, SROs? Is that different from what he's talking about?
They're under security, and that's where they're listed, but I have to go into the report where I put them in, and there's a spot I can figure out if it counts or doesn't count.
Yeah, you get that information, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
That'll identify to you that's net school spending or not net school spending.
Correct,
Right.
right.
As you work through the budget.
So, I'm sorry, I don't want to leave here, because I have constituents I need to make sure that's clarified. So, would we be pulling from the Lynn PD's current pool of police officers? Is that, or will we?
We would be pulling out of the current police budget to put more crossing guards on.
Okay.
And so the priority becomes, what is the priority when you have limited dollars? And the priority is to continue to beef up the understaffed police force. Doesn't mean that it's not as important, it just means there's a number of different needs, particularly on the city side. And when the school does get an increased number, and Kevin can address this, and I know the CFO does, it also impacts the city side in terms of the net school spending numbers of what we have to spend on the city side to meet our net school spending requirement. That's where that number comes in. We have to also, on the city side, come up with dollars in addition to what the state sends us. Is that?
That's correct. I used a number of I think it's right now at 77%. The city gets a pretty good deal. It used to be 75, so they've increased it. So for every dollar that we receive, in theory, the city has to come up with the 23 cents. So they have to, come back, so.
So you take that
there's
out to 15 million and take that
Right.
number out,
So,
the 23 cents on the dollar. Member Ford?
Just a point, if we all along say that we need school resource officers, if it does come out of that school spending, why wouldn't we give that money to the Lynn Police? They could hire 3 new police officers. They would also have them free for July and August.
I'm happy to answer that. That's a great question. But the reality is if you gave them 5 or 6 or 8 more police officers, they're not putting them in the schools because they're so understaffed right now. So if we had a full staff police department, then we can have that discussion. It's a great question.
Even if we were paying for them?
Even if we're paying for them,
Well, I mean, they'd get-
but then you'd be hiring 3 or 4 police officers, and the needs on the force, we want them in the schools, but the reality is, if you ask the chief what his priority would be, it would be that he has to continue to beef the force up. So if we had a much more robust staffing level, which we had in the past, then you're in a different place where you can say, then we can fund some of these offices if it is net school spending related, and I think Kevin can get that answer more than I can. So if it is eligible for net school spending, and we had a full complement of police officers, and we were getting extra dollars on the school side, and we had determined as a committee that was appropriate to do, then that would be something we could address. But at this point, because of the situation on what we have public safety, that's not necessarily would translate from being able to put those offices in the schools right now.
Okay.
I know it's not a good answer to get, John, but
Well, no, I
but
thought that
I
if we were paying for them, they'd get July and August would be free police
but
officers.
it's where do you put the offices and where is the need, and right now the need is in other places.
I understand that, I understand.
And it doesn't mean the need isn't in the schools, but it's when you have limited numbers, you got to make tough decisions. Member Gately?
Dr. Tutwiler, I'm looking through this added part, and I can't find any secondary class sizes. Like, a lot of people talk to me about their class sizes, that English or classical, and this just lists what we have in the binder, which is how many teachers. It doesn't say anything about the class size. I was just wondering, because secondary is not, I don't have a clue to what their sizes are.
Yeah, so as long as I've been here, that particular document that you're holding has never had,
Class sizes.
right. And so a lot harder to predict for next year as the master schedule.
They have to do that first.
Yeah.
Could we get it in the fall?
Sure.
Because I
Sure.
really
I
get
can
a
have data
little.
run a report, once the, as
Schedule's
my
done.
former supervisor or mentor used to say, once butts are in seats, we can run a report really easily and give you a class size report.
Oh, perfect, because I hear a lot about their class
Yeah.
sizes, so, thank you.
Member Nicholson?
Thanks. I just wanted to say, because I asked for it last time, to thank you for that list of the new positions, for putting that together. That was helpful to read, so thank you.
Any other discussion? Thank you. Next on the agenda is a reaffirmation of votes taken on the revised attendance policy on May 30th.
Motion to reaffirm the vote taken on the revised attendance policy on May 30th, 2019.
Second?
Requires a roll call?
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda, ratification of votes in this curriculum subcommittee. The chair will speak to that.
The committee voted to accept the SEL curriculum and roll it out with the K to 2 and then the 3 to 5 in December, right? So,
Is a motion?
we made a motion, we accepted it in the subcommittee and bring it to the whole committee.
Second.
That requires a roll call as well.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda is a request for executive session for contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
Mr.
make 'em-
Cassianis?
I need to make a motion, I think.
Oh,
Do we
sorry.
want to suspend the?
Richard.
Oh, I'll make
Do
a
that,
motion
There's a motion,
to switch section 8J after section 9, the communication and information.
What's he doing?
motion on the table.
Second.
Requires a roll call.
Mr. Cassianis?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes. Next on the agenda is communications and information, and Superintendent
Yep,
Tutwiler.
happy to. As you all know, very quickly bringing the school year to a close. No doubt everyone has worked hard, and the gentler pace ahead for students and educators alike is well-deserved. Relative to the hard work completed this year, I'd like to update you on the first year of the fourth year math option, the option for seniors in the high school, financial algebra. After a presentation in this forum late last spring, 3 teachers met over the summer with Shirley Albert, who was here earlier, to map out the course. There were 5 additional meetings over the course of the year to fine-tune mapping and lesson planning and to check in on the general progress of the course. Further, a representative from Cengage, which is the textbook publisher, was present at some of the meetings. The hard work paid off. 150 students took the course, and 146 passed. That's a 97% pass rate. Further, the general feedback on the experience of teaching and learning in the course was really positive. From the teacher perspective, the belief is that students did very well with the subject matter. They were enthusiastic to learn about the many topics: automobile and home ownership, how to start a business, stock market, and so forth. Students often reported that the financial algebra class is essential to people's lives, and they wish that they had learned about it sooner. In fact, I have a written note from a student from the class that I'd like to share toward that end. It's actually to her teacher, Ms. Serino. Thank you for a great year. I really enjoyed your class. By the way, this is really classy when students write these end-of-year thank you notes. So, not that any students are probably watching right now, but it's a classy thing to do.
Hi, student.
Carlos?
Carlos!
This is actually your letter.
Sorry, I didn't see
Spread
you
the
send
word.
over that. Didn't see it. Thank you for a great year. I really enjoyed your class. I had you freshman year for algebra, and I remember I wanted to have you as a teacher again. I got that wish granted. Financial algebra helped me get and feel ready to be an adult. It's kind of hard transitioning from not paying bills to paying rent, owning a house, etc. This is why I really enjoyed this class. Wishing you the best. So we have some student feedback on it. In total, I think it went really well. Separate and apart from that course, you'll recall the algebra support course, Algebraic Concepts for 9th grade, that was also launched this year. It's too early to report out on the final outcomes around course pass rates, which is really the goal of that course. But I hope to be able to do so on the 27th, and if not, I'll report out early fall on that course. In the course of our discussion about budget and in the May 30th meeting, There was a question or suggestion around stronger partnerships with institutions of higher learning. I just wanted to circle back and make sure that the committee is aware of the substance of some of the existing partnerships. To be clear, the benefit of strong relationships with post-secondary institutions is twofold. It supports the Lynn Public Schools to provide quality field placement experiences for practicum students, and it helps build our capacity to provide support services to our students and families. We currently have formal partnerships with Salem State, UMass Boston, Lesley University, Merrimack College, Tufts University, William James University, and Northeastern. As we move forward, the Lynn Public Schools will explore potential partnerships with Simmons, Boston College. Actually, we do have a partnership with them around the dual language, and Boston University. During school year 18-19, the Executive Director of Social Emotional Learning, who presented, I thought, masterfully earlier, was invited by Merrimack to engage in a review of their school counseling program. It's our hope that this will culminate in a cohort of Merrimack practicum students completing their field placements in the Lynn Public Schools. During school year 18-19, the one we're wrapping, there were 25 practicums or internships taking place in our schools, 12 social workers, 12 guidance counselors, and one school adjustment counselor. To date, for the 19-20 school year, the following placements have already been secured. 5 master's level social work interns from Salem State will be placed in the following schools, and this placement process will continue through September, which means there's more to come. Fallon, Washington, Druitt's, Callahan, and Lincoln Thompson. In total, I just want you to be aware that this partnership is happening and we seek to broaden it. We have lots of movement in the planning happening on the early college front. I just want to give you a quick but substantive update. Today, we officially received, yesterday, we officially received I wrote it yesterday, that's what I said. We received our early college designation with North Shore Community College, official. We will continue to offer our current program, which is a wonderful array of early college courses. Recipient over there, participant. Offered at no cost to students in the afternoons, evenings, and weekends year-round. As part of the designation, the program will expand to provide courses within the school day starting spring 2020. All 4 high schools will each run a section of Understanding Higher Education and Career Pathways. I have a description of the course that I can send along to you. The students who complete this course will have the opportunity to take speech in 10th grade, a college-level English class in 11th grade, and a college-level math course in 12th grade. The idea is to create a more formalized approach to early college while allowing students to reap the benefits during the school day. Each year we'll be adding a new cohort of students so that in 4 years' time, the courses will be running at each grade level, giving more than 300 students the opportunity to achieve college credits during the school day. We also seek to expand so that we can offer more sections. This year we ran an 11th grade, I referred to this earlier, 11th grade college level English class at Lynn English in partnership with Salem State, and this will continue to be offered next year to a new class of 11th graders. The rising 12th grade Salem State early college students will have the option next year to take a 12th grade college level political science class in their 12th grade. An exciting new addition to the expansion of the Salem State early college program to Lynn Classical High School. As we began at English, we will start by opening one section of a college-level English class to 11th graders with future plans to offer a 12th grade college-level political science class. This program is slated to serve another 200 students in 2 years' time. We're really making strides to deepen these partnerships for the benefit of students, and as Carlos and Member Nicholson can attest, at the State House last week, this really benefits traditionally underrepresented students, and we're really excited about it, particularly as we continue to define our equity lens in the district. That's all I have.
Member Nicholson?
Thank you so much. I mean, both those updates are really exciting and a lot to be proud of in the Lynn Public Schools. I think we're going to have to rethink our the way we think of ourselves as a K through 12 district if we're offering this many higher education courses, and that's wonderful progress. So thank you for that. I had a quick follow-up question on the financial algebra. I mean, that note was so touching, and those results are amazing. One of the things I remember us talking about was if the course went well, thinking about whether it could be offered as an elective to students, because this is designed for students who are at a particular point in their math curriculum based on how they've done in other math classes, but potentially has value for students beyond that sort of specific cohort. Any thoughts as to that, or what the expected enrollment would be for next year?
Don't yet know what the expected enrollment will be. I'll tell you from the general tenets of that course, and we've talked before about financial literacy. What I know about the tenets of those courses, the financial algebra and financial literacy, and what I know about the reality of the default rates in college, particularly among many of our graduates. I'm talking about college student loan default rates. I really feel like this is a stopgap for that issue, to the extent that we can acquaint students with all of the important and major tenets of financial literacy. I think that default rate comes down, and the the number of really bad financial decisions also comes down. So probably, I mean, in my view, I really feel like that should be a graduation requirement, financial literacy. Do not make a motion or anything like that. That's just my personal view on it.
Absolutely.
Member Satterwhite, then Member Gately.
And just to piggyback off my brother here, I really, I took financial algebra in high school, and it really helped out substantially. And before they go to college, I know if you're going to get a student loan, you have to take some sort of hour-long, it's not enough. And they tell you about defaults and all that stuff. It's just not enough.
Right.
And not everybody's going to go to college. So the financial algebra, rent, car payments, if you have bad credit, your interest rate's going to be 18%. Like, all that stuff matters. And that letter was spot on. And I the fact that 97% of the students passed, it shows engagement. We talk about it all the time. Sure. Student engagement, just for interviews recently, you all were there, when we were talking about what's good instruction to a principal when they go into a classroom and the students are the ones learning. The teacher's not up there pointing and just saying this is what you have to know. The kids are throwing out the information, because guess what? They're witnessing their parents struggling. They're witnessing, probably their parents working 1 or 2 jobs, and then how far that brings you. So, this is such a great course, and like my brother said, I think that it's important to see if it could be expanded, and maybe one day soon we'll be talking about having it as a requirement. Thank you.
Member Gately?
I just want to say the same thing.
Oh.
I would like to see it as a requirement for like seniors or juniors before they get out of high school, so they have a clue to what is really going to be expected of them. I think it's great. I think the results were great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Member Satterwhite.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Kevin McHugh.
The motion
Second.
requires a roll call.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Jerry, did you have enrollment in yours?
No, not in the.
No.
Just got this.
Roll call.
Thanks.
Motion made, seconded to go back into session.
Yes.
Roll call required.
Oops.
Who said what? I'm sorry.
A motion to go into regular session. It was seconded by,
Donna.
Mrs. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Ms. Ford? Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes.
6.
I make,
Satterwhite?
make a motion to, it's not ratify, is it? Or to approve the actions taken in executive session with regards to a contract negotiation with non-union personnel, Kevin McHugh. An agreement was made and it's to be signed.
Second.
Roll call required.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Ms. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Gately?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Mr. Satterwhite?
Yes.
Mayor McGee?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Can we just wait 3 minutes? I'm joking. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.